Good evening and welcome in, Mizzou fans, to the Bruning law firm, PowerMizzou.com postgame show after a 92-85 loss to the Arkansas Razorbacks. This is Gabe DeArmond, by the way. Drew King's going to join me live from Fayetteville soon enough. He is doing Mizzou postgame right now. I have been reading Twitter comments. I have been reading the comments in the chat. And I am here to assure you guys that the world has not ended because Missouri lost a basketball game. We will get into it. Our post-game shows all year long, brought to you by the good folks at the Bruning Law Firm. They serve Missouri, Kansas, and Illinois. Notably, they do not serve Arkansas. Good team of personal injury lawyers. When you're hurting, your time matters, and the Bruning Law Firm has your back. Get the relief you deserve quickly so you can get back to your life. They're going to use data and their experience to get you results quickly. You can call for a free consultation at 573-400-2796. Again, that's 573-400-2796. That information going to be running across the bottom of your screen throughout this show. While you're here, hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, do all of those things. If you listen on the podcast I put together after this, just share it and say nice things on social media. So I'm going to give you guys my initial reaction here, and then we will get to your comments, your voicemails. Billy's running the show. He'll handle all of that, put everything up on the screen for you. But I just want to give you my initial thoughts. Missouri lost tonight because Missouri did things it has very rarely done all year. 18 turnovers led to 30 points for Arkansas. 16 Arkansas turnovers led to 14 Missouri points. That's the recipe for Missouri to win games, and it was in complete reverse tonight. Missouri normally shoots about twice as many free throws as its opponents did. Arkansas shot almost twice as many free throws as Missouri did tonight. I am not blaming the officiating. I know you guys will do that. I can't do it, not for this game. There are times. Tonight's not one of them. If you want to do it, feel free. But it's just a simple fact. Arkansas was at the free throw line a lot more than Missouri was. 3-point shooting, 12 of 36. Caleb Grill 0 for 7 in the second half. I mean, guys, it's the things that have been reasons Missouri won all year were reasons Missouri lost tonight. Like, I will live with Caleb Grill being the reason you lose a game because his shot wasn't going in. He had looks. He just didn't make them. He makes those shots more often than not. Missouri will live with him missing some of those shots he missed in the second half. It wasn't his night. Sometimes it happens. Again, Missouri absolutely a lot of turnovers. And as Ruben says, defense was slow. They settled for threes. I agree with the defense. The transition defense, they got beat back down the floor all night by Arkansas. The one that I thought really kind of ended it was Marquez Wart missed a reverse layup with 2.5 minutes left, and Trevon Brazile just beat the entire Missouri team down the floor for an alley-oop. And that happened all night. They gave up. They got beaten transition 22-4. They got beaten points off turnovers 30-14. And they missed shots. I mean, it's not super difficult to diagnose. Those are the three things that happen. And as the last comment said, it was a classic letdown spot. Now, everybody knew that before the game. There were a lot of comments coming off that Alabama game. Arkansas is desperate, playing for its life. This is a spot that could be a pretty easy time for Missouri to let down. And the thing about Missouri was that they hadn't really done that all year. Like, they had a bad shooting night at Texas, but I didn't feel like it was a letdown. I didn't feel like there was a lack of energy or a hangover or anything like that. Tonight, there was a little bit of that. Slow start. Grill saved him in the first half. I mean, Grill got him back in a game that Arkansas could have blown him out pretty early. And then they just never had the answer that they have usually had this year. Like, they would make a 5-0 run, but it never would turn into a 12-0 run. They just it just wasn't there tonight, and everybody saw it coming. So Luther Burden wants to know, why did Warwick barely play in the second half? And I saw this comment, so I looked it up. Marquez Warwick played 9 minutes in the second half. Now, it's not a ton, but it was tied for 5th most on the team. I mean, I guess, you know, you could have benched Ant Robinson or Tamar Bates and played Warwick more. Those guys both played 12 minutes. But look, here's really what I think happened tonight. All night long, Dennis Gates was just searching for answers. And in the first half, he got those answers from Caleb Grill, Marquez Warwick, and Jacob Cruz. Those guys scored the vast majority of Missouri, maybe all of Missouri's 33 bench points in the first half. But like, this entire game was just him looking for a lineup that had more than like 2 guys playing well. And he never found it. Like, I said in my instant reaction, I'm not sure there's a player who had a better game than what I would normally expect out of him. Marquez Warwick probably did. Warwick played a better game than he normally does. But let's go through everyone else. Ant Robinson, 3 points, 0 for 2 from the field, 3 for 5 from the line, including a missed front end of a 1-and-1 late. He was below average. Tamar Bates, 9 points. He took 6 shots, 1 steal, below average. Trent Pierce, 5 points, 6 rebounds, 4 fouls. And honestly, with 16 minutes left, I called for him to be benched, below average. Tony Perkins, 5 for 11, 4 turnovers, below average. Mark Mitchell had 17, but it just 6 turnovers. I thought below average, below what you normally expect. I mean, the numbers in the end, 17 and 7, look good, but I didn't think that was a good game for Mark Mitchell. Marcus Allen, -5 in 7 minutes, inconsequential, below average. Peyton Marshall, we'll get to. Aiden Shaw, I mean, I guess he had about the game I would expect, but at this point, that's not good enough. Caleb Grill, 4 for 14 from the floor, 2 for 12 from 3, below average. Jacob Cruz, 10 points, maybe not below average, but did nothing in the second half. Like, did not score in the second half. So I just went through that whole list. I gave you Marquez Warwick was better than you would normally expect. And Aiden Shaw was kind of about what you would expect. And that was really it. So at halftime, Missouri was up 7 points. And I said, like, in my analysis, I said, Missouri played like a C- game. And they took that to the last minute with a realistic chance to win the game. So here's what we found out tonight. Missouri can't win a game in which almost everybody else plays below average. I mean, almost everybody on the team plays below average. That's it. They just didn't play well. And sometimes it happens. I honestly thought Arkansas outplayed Missouri the entire first half. They were down 7 points, in large part because they went 1 for 10 from 3. Arkansas came out in the second half, and let me look it up. I know at one point they were 5 for 8 from 3. Yeah, they finished 5 for 8 from 3. There's your difference. Went from down 7 to up 7 because they made some shots and Missouri missed shots. I really do think it was that simple. Like, I don't think this takes an incredible amount of hand-wringing or, oh my God, they're in trouble now. They just had a bad night. And everybody in America has bad nights. Everybody in the SEC has bad nights outside of Auburn. Every team in this league has lost 3 games or more. Texas A&M lost at Mississippi State last week. Mississippi State lost at Oklahoma today. Missouri lost at Arkansas, which is probably just put itself in the NCAA tournament, to be quite honest. Alex said we missed Josh Gray's defense for sure. I agree. Missouri dominated the glass anyway in this game. They out-rebounded Arkansas. I'm not sure Arkansas is all that interested in rebounding. The final total was 35-28. Missouri 17-8 on the offensive glass. So the rebounding wasn't a problem, but the interior defense clearly was a problem. Arkansas scored 44 points in the paint. And if you have Josh Gray, that probably doesn't happen. I thought the game really turned when Dennis Gates tried to squeeze 2 or 3 minutes out of Peyton Marshall. And like, I'm not laying this loss on Peyton Marshall. There were a million reasons for this loss, and I'm not going to lay it all on a freshman who played 4 minutes. But he committed a foul on back-to-back possessions on both ends of the floor, got beat for an offensive rebound that gave up a point. Like, he just wasn't ready for this game. Missouri needed Josh Gray, and it didn't have Josh Gray because he's sick. My guess is Dennis Gates is trying to prevent what has happened to Illinois, which is the flu has basically taken over their entire team and derailed their season. If Josh Gray's sick, just whatever, let him get better before he's around these guys, and you can live with it. John's calling for Jacob Cruz to replace Trent Pierce in the starting lineup. I wouldn't argue with that. Trent gives you some games, but he is not a consistent player. And I did not think he was very good at all tonight, especially early. He did make a couple plays late, but overall, I did not think he was very good tonight. So, Billy, if we can, I know we've got a handful of voicemails. Again, Drew's going to join us in a little bit. Let's go to the voicemail line for a little bit and hear what people are saying there, and we'll react to that.
Richard, there were such high expectations. Hey, this is Cirque from Texas. What I don't understand is our big-time guys, Bates, Grill, got to get the threes, particularly when Arkansas made their run. You got to just come down to the situation of hitting your threes. I think we were at disadvantage with Gray being out. But anyway, that's the SEC. Would have loved to see these guys win the game, but anyway, Arkansas was up for it, and our boys were up for it too, but they outplayed us. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, well said. That's the SEC. That's college basketball, guys. Like, I don't think there's a whole lot more to it than that. It's a bummer to have a bad night, but everybody's going to have a bad night. Like, we all jumped a little ahead of ourselves and thought, hey, this team's going to go 6-0. This team's going to run the table. Everything's good. And we forgot that sometimes college basketball just turns into college basketball. We got Drew King now backstage in Bud Walton Arena. Drew, just fresh off postgame, just give us the quick kind of, I assume I kind of know what Dennis Gates said because I kind of always know what Dennis Gates says, but what did Dennis Gates say?
Yeah, I mean, the two biggest things, and he kind of repeated himself often, was they gave up 18 turnovers and then they gave up 37 free throws, right? He said it was a lot of self-inflicted wounds tonight, and gave credit to Arkansas, but, he thinks that this is one that was mostly on them.
I said to start the show, and I said this in instant reaction, Arkansas beat Missouri the way Missouri has beaten teams all year. They took the ball away, they scored in transition, and they went to the free throw line. That's it.
Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard too, because you don't see Missouri get beat in transition like that very often. And the way that Arkansas kind of repeatedly just beat them down the floor was kind of jarring. I think it caught Mizzou off guard, honestly. We haven't seen them turn the ball over like that very often. I asked Marquez Work, just from your perspective, what was making it tough to move the ball? And he's like, well, they were disruptive and they were playing the passing lanes. That's usually what we say Mizzou does. So you said, they kind of beat Mizzou at their own game tonight.
I thought it was very obvious very early. This is a tough matchup for Mark Mitchell because and I know people are tired of hearing him called Big Z, but I don't even know how to pronounce his first name. So I'll call him a Visic if that'll make people feel better. But he is big enough to force Mark to kind of adjust his shot without fouling him a lot of the time. And look, Mark had gone through a stretch where he'd been really good finishing around the rim, but asking him to do that against a 7-footer who's not fouling him is pretty difficult. So the answer was Missouri has to make some shots. And outside of about a 6 or 7 minute stretch in the first half, they just didn't do it.
Yeah, and like those are looks that Mizzou's pretty accustomed to making, right? And they were making them in the first half. Just kind of cooled off in the second there. I tried asking Gates kind of like, how do you balance, settling, not necessarily settling, but taking that many 3-pointers when you want to get to the free throw line more often. And the first words out of his mouth were, well, I can't control the whistle. But I think that they were really planning on Mark Mitchell earning more trips to the foul line tonight. And like you said, it just ended up not being a great matchup for him against the 7'2" guy.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I said this earlier, if the season ends because Caleb Grill goes 0 for 7 from 3-point range in a half at some point, so be it, man. Like he took maybe one shot that I thought, I'd like to see you pass that one up. But like I said on Twitter, there are no bad shots for him. Like he has made those shots this year. So I'm not going to argue with him taking them.
Yeah, you're gonna live and die by the three, right? And most of the time, he'll get you to life. Today they died by it, right? That second half, Marquez Work was really the only guy who was hitting anything, right? I mean, Tamar Bates had one, but it was still like 4 for 17. It was a big departure from how the first half ended.
I went through go ahead.
They just couldn't figure out how to adjust to it, I feel like.
I went through this game, I think I texted you with about 16 minutes left. It was about the under 16 timeout, and I said, I think Arkansas is going to beat them. And the reason was because all those uncharacteristic mistakes and all the things that went wrong in the first half, like I thought they would be better in the second half, and it was pretty obvious pretty early that they weren't any better.
Correct. I'll add this too. I don't know that Josh Gray would have helped in the turnover margin.
Defensively.
But defensively, like Arkansas, I think shot 23 for 35 on 2-pointers today. And did have a handful of second chance points in that second half that helped them stay in front. So I think that they definitely missed Josh Gray in some aspects of this game. You texted, and I think you wrote this in your instant reaction too. Like, Dennis Gates spent most of this game trying to find 5 guys who could play well together, and could never really get any one lineup to go on a run for any length of time. Like that makes it tough.
Yeah, I thought he coached his ass off tonight. He just didn't have 5 guys that played well. Like I went individually through the roster. The only guy that played a game that is better than what I would normally expect from him is Marquez Warwick. Mm-hmm. Everybody else was either what I would expect or worse.
Yeah.
You can't win game. I mean, you're not going to win a game that way.
Right. Like, I was a little surprised we didn't see Tamar Bates get a little more aggressive. Only took 6 shots. I mean,
But like Drew, we've watched Tamar for 2 years, and he's been in college for 4 years. And you know that 1 out every 3 games, this is just what he is. Yeah. He just isn't going to shoot the ball very much. And it's frustrating, but it's like asking a guy who has an 85-mile-an-hour fastball to go suddenly hit 92. He's just not going to do it.
Yeah, I hear you there for sure. Jacob Cruz, really good first half, kind of cooled off in the second. And like you said, Tamar Bates didn't have his fastball today. Aaron Robinson didn't really have his fastball today. Tony Perkins had a handful of turnovers that were pretty costly. So
Trent
the
Pierce,
regular guys.
Trent Pierce, I thought was bad.
Yeah, Trent Pierce, not great.
Like maybe somebody had suggested Jacob Cruz in the starting lineup. It's worth talking about at this point, I think.
He got the start in the second half, so
right.
And I thought that was pretty telling. So yeah, he couldn't find the right combination of guys, and the ones that normally step up to the plate were kind of held off, struck out.
Well, and the strength of this team has always been hey, it's not going to be the same guy, but it's going to be somebody. And tonight it just wasn't it. I mean, they just kept trying to find answers, and there just wasn't a consistent answer.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too: is like Mizzou still's put up 85 points, right? So offensively, even though you had the turnovers, they were still pretty efficient when they did get a shut off, right? But that many turnovers allowed Arkansas's offense to get going. Like Arkansas, I don't think has scored 90 points in SEC play yet this season. And their last 2 games, they were held to under 70, under 62 actually. So like this is not a team that's supposed to be able to keep up with you. But those turnovers let them.
Right. And sending them to the free throw line 34 times or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But look, man, this is college basketball. I mean,
Yeah.
Mississippi State lost at Oklahoma today. Last week, Texas A&M lost at Mississippi State. Like, you can't talk about a league that has 12 NCAA tournament teams and just think, oh, yeah, our schedule's easy. We're going 6-0. I mean, hey, man, these games happen to everybody in this league except Auburn.
Basically, yeah. And like, I think we accounted for the idea that Mizzou wasn't going to run the table, right? Like, we figured there was at least one more loss.
We figured there was a loss somewhere.
Yeah, and on the road in this arena where, like, Mizzou's kind of struggled the last couple of years under Dennis Gates, specifically in Fayetteville, like, it's kind of an understandable loss. It's not a horrible one. It doesn't kill their season. But like, that's kind of year one, right? If you want to stay in the protected seed conversation, like you do kind of need to turn things around after this. But for now, I think that they're still up there.
Yeah. I mean, you can lose at Vandy or at home against Kentucky and maybe still be a 4, I think. But like you can lose. I think it benefits Missouri that you come back with South Carolina on Tuesday. Like, you should win that game relatively easy. I assume they're losing again tonight or lost again tonight. I have no idea. Yeah. But like you were there. Did you get a sense that this was in any way like a letdown or a hangover after the Bama game? Was there a lack of like energy, speed, or was this just a bad night?
I'll say like it did feel like maybe a little bit of an edge was taken off after that Bama game. It just wasn't as sharp, I guess, as we normally see.
Oh my God, South Carolina beat Texas by 15 points tonight.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
Oh, Texas.
Wow.
You're not allowed in the NCAA tournament, Texas.
Man.
Sorry.
That's tough.
Yeah. Sorry.
That is the rule, though. That's the rules. You lose to South Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, and actually, they're the only team that fits that rule. So.
Yeah. But good on South Carolina for avoiding a winless conference season.
Just shows how tough it is to do, man.
Jordan Butler gets his first SEC win as well.
Yes, congratulations.
But yeah, I forget what we were talking about.
I don't know what we were talking about. We were talking about a letdown, and
okay. So yeah, like I think that it just wasn't as sharp, right? And I think that was kind of underscored by the number of turnovers that Mizzou had. I think that they weren't necessarily as sharp as they normally are.
Here's what I learned tonight. I think Missouri could have won with a B- game. And that's pretty impressive. If you could win a road game against a potential tournament team with a B- game, what they couldn't do is win with a C- game.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's surprising. You know who wins C- games? Auburn, Duke, maybe Florida. Like not many teams, so it happens. But hey, man, first of all, everybody tell Drew happy birthday. He celebrated in Bud Walton Arena today. But I know you got a ton of stuff to do, and unless you just really want to hang out and listen to the voicemails, we'll let you go.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Gabe.
All right. See you, Drew. Have a good one, man. Thanks. All right, that is Drew King live from Bud Walton. Again, celebrating his birthday with a Missouri loss to Arkansas. So going to let him get out the door, and I'm going to finish up with you guys with voicemails and take some of your comments, and we'll look ahead. So, Billy, let's go back. I think we just got one voicemail in before Drew joined, so let's hit those, and then we'll get to some of the comments and wrap things up.
What's up, Gabe? Man, Grill going ice cold in the second half really hurt. Love the fact that he kept on shooting, though. That's big time, and those will eventually go down. But tough loss. Hate losing to Arkansas. MIZ.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Grill 2 for 12 in the game from 3-point range. Missouri's not going to win a lot of games where he misses 10 3-pointers. They'll win some, but not many. But again, I would rather lose with him going 2 for 12 from 3-point range than like Mark Mitchell going 1 for 6 from 3-point range, or I don't know, some other guy taking the shots. Like, he's made them all year. It's how it goes. All right, let's go to.
Hey guys, thanks for doing this post game. Love the show. We have like 3.5 minutes to go in the game, and I'm just so frustrated because we're playing so bad. Like, no one is able to spark any kind of offense or defense. We've turned the ball over about 50 million times. And the most frustrating part about it is that we're still within 6, and we just can't do anything to push through. And it's just so frustrating. But then again, I guess better to have this clunker now than in a few weeks. Better to get it out of the system and learn from it and move on. I'm not too broken up about it, but it's a little bit depressing. Anyway, thank you all for doing great work. Really appreciate it. MIZ.
All right, appreciate that call and appreciate the perspective. Like, I agree with all that. Understand why tonight was a super frustrating game. Like, it felt like Missouri's better than Arkansas. Like, if they both play an A game, Missouri wins. If they both play a C game, Missouri wins. Again, I think Missouri played a C- game, and Arkansas probably played like a B+ game. I didn't think Arkansas was great. I thought Arkansas let Missouri lead a game at halftime that it shouldn't have probably been leading. But yeah, I think that is a good description of tonight. Like, didn't play well, and yet you still had chances. Like, with 2.5 minutes left, Marquez Wart misses a layup where if he just goes up with the left hand, it's probably a 4-point game. Instead, it's a Trevon Brazil dunk. It's an 8-point game. Then, I see some comments in the chat about it. Ivisic, I mean, he flopped. There's no question he flopped. If that doesn't get called on Anthony Robinson, then Missouri gets a turnover. It's a 5-point game, and let's see what could happen. Like, it was a flop. There's no question. I don't necessarily blame the refs because, like, you're expecting Missouri to foul there. But then they're down 4. I think it was 4, maybe 5, something like that, with a minute and change to go. Dennis Gates plays out the possession. And I understand why he did, because at that point, Arkansas was making a bunch of free throws. But so he plays out the possession. Missouri actually gets a stop. And then Z gets the offensive rebound and scores. And so, like, they had their chances and couldn't close it out. So I understand the frustrating part of that. All right, let's go back to the next call.
So first of all, how is that Ivisic foul not reviewed? I'm very curious on that matter because it was I didn't see fucking anything there. All I saw was a flop and then a 5-second call like a second later or a turnover. So, but whatever. Mizzou shot cold from 3. We had turnovers, like very very uncharacteristic turnovers against a team desperate for a win. I think it's okay. The Ivisic call is bullshit, and I think Gabe is gonna say while I'm saying this, oh well, it just happens. No, that call gets reviewed 9 times out of 10. from the college basketball I've been watching this season. I've watched a lot of college basketball this season. But otherwise, Grill just went cold. We just went cold. Warwick showed himself as a fucking spark plug, and we just didn't believe in him. Mizzou needed a close loss, I think, to just they haven't had any like close games to like really practice on this year. It's either been blowout or blow-ins, but whatever. MIZ.
As far as the flop on a Visage, we just talked about that. It was a bad call. Is it reviewable? I'll be honest, guys. I don't know what the hell's reviewable in college basketball. It seems like everything is reviewable, but then when I think they should review something, they don't review it. So I don't know the rule on that. I'm just going to plead ignorance. As far as no close games, I mean, they beat Florida by a point, lost to Illinois by 3. The Ole Miss game was an 8-point game. It was relatively close late. Vandy got back within a point, and they ended up making that a 9-point win. I mean, they've had some close games. Kansas got back within 2, and Missouri won that by 9. So they've had some close games. Is this good for them? I don't know. I think it would have been better to win, obviously. But again, I don't think they were going the distance without a loss. So if this is the only one, great, cool, take it now. Move on and see what happens. But this is a really tough league to win 4 games in a row in, and now that's what Missouri will try to do. We should still have a couple calls left, so let's go back to it.
Missed Josh Gray big time tonight. Oh well, MIZ.
Short and sweet. Those are the ones I like the most. I don't even have anything to say. If we got another one, let's go.
So it's about 5 minutes to go. Just want to fill in thoughts real quick. So I see a lot of negativity. This is a good Arkansas team. They've been much improved. I need Mizzou faithful to chill the fuck out. I've had some complaints about the lineups. Listen, I'm normally the negative guy. This night has been we have not gotten Caleb Grill threes to fall, and that's it. Like, we need to chill out a little bit. We've had some sloppy passes, especially, but otherwise, like, the game has been played fairly well. Other than that, we're playing up against a desperate team, and I'll have more thoughts later on, but this is my 5 minutes to go before we lose thoughts. So it's about 5 minutes to go.
I'll be honest. I've been surprised at the fairly level reaction to this. I think the chat was going a little bit nuts before I got in here. I think that is the typical 10 minutes after a loss, like just get it out and like say things that you don't really think about, and then you kind of process it and go, yeah, it sucked. But I do want to remind you guys real quick before we hit the last 3 voicemails that were brought to you after every game by the Bruning law firm. They have been with us all year, sponsoring all of our post-game shows. They will cover you in Missouri, Kansas, Illinois. Great team of personal injury attorneys. If you're in a situation where you've been hurt or you've been wronged and feel like you are owed some compensation, get in touch with them at 573-400-2796 for a free consultation. They're not going to charge you anything for the consultation. They'll, go through it and hear your case, and they are not going to get paid until you get paid. 573-400-2796. Got a long track record, a lot of history. Look, I know them personally, and they're good guys and big Mizzou fans as well. So if you do get in that situation, please get in touch with the Bruning law firm. Okay, let's hop back to the voicemails.
Gabe. Tiger Terry. What are you going to say about this one, Gabe? Mizzou giveth, Mizzou taketh away. A week of highs, a week of lows, brother. All I know is I trust Dennis is going to use this as a lesson, get the boys right, and keep us marching towards glory in March. Definitely missed Josh Gray tonight. No doubt about that. Josh, if you're listening, Meemaw made her some homemade chicken noodle soup tonight. Come and get you a cup, brother. We're going to need you healthy and ready here in a few weeks. Last thing I got to say, Gabe, Tell me, what's that thing on center court at Arkansas? Is that a hog that is the result of an inbred marriage, or is that a picture of the prettiest girl in Arkansas? Who knows? Fight Tiger.
Hey, it can't be all bad when we get Terry calling. You can go hang out at Meemaw's house and get yourself some chicken noodle soup. That sounds it would have been better when it was negative 412 degrees in Columbia for the last week. It actually warmed up today. I was able to actually walk my dogs this afternoon. Some of the snow melted, but chicken noodle soup is always good. I'm sure Terry's Meemaw is a wonderful woman. Maybe you can hang out with Josh Gray, guys. That's where we're at. Let's go to the next call.
Peyton Marshall is absolute dog shit. He should not play the rest of the year.
All right. So, look, I don't condone that phrasing, but I did say an instant reaction. Like, he's not ready. You can't play him in a game you need to win. And I don't blame Dennis Gates tonight. He was without Josh Gray. Trent Pierce wasn't doing a lot. He tried to steal 2 minutes in each half with Peyton Marshall, and it burned. It burned him. Now, it didn't lose the game. I mean, it contributed to it. But there were a lot of things that contributed to it. He was, I just said in my instant reaction, he's not ready. You can't play him in a game you need to win. Now, I know that you guys watching this view every game as a game they need to win. And yes, it would have been wonderful to win this game. I'm not saying Dennis is throwing this game or doesn't care about this game. But, if you take a step back, this loss doesn't derail anything. And, he tried to get 4 minutes out of a kid that he couldn't get 4 minutes out of. A couple of really bad fouls. Got beat for a layup. I mean, there was the possession before I think he came out of the game. Marshall was basically alone underneath the basket, and Ant Robinson just didn't throw him the ball. He's not ready, and that's okay. A lot of freshmen aren't ready, especially we knew when Peyton came in, we knew that he had a lot of work to do in the weight room and conditioning and all that. And so they didn't expect big minutes from him this year. You would have liked to steal a couple tonight, but it didn't work out. Again, I don't think that's why Missouri lost the game, but it contributed to losing the game. That said, let's maybe chill on the personal insults. All right, one more call.
Hey Gabe, it's Paul Burkhart. You're creator of your logo. No, I want to talk about tonight. I think the biggest thing is tonight, yeah, it was a tough game, but you know what? The season's still there. It's not a big deal. Let's just win basketball games. I think that's the biggest thing. It's yeah, we lost a tough game on the road in the SEC. Every SEC road game was gonna be a bonus if we could win that. So I think that's the biggest thing for tonight. I still think that we can maybe go far. Let's just keep that going. So let me know your thoughts on that. Yeah, we got plenty of time to still win on the road.
Paul, appreciate the call, man. Good to hear from you. And yeah, Paul, that logo down on the bottom corner of the screen, Paul made that for us. He's done a lot of graphic stuff for us over the years, so appreciate his contributions to the site and the show and all that. And appreciate the call. And I agree with it. Look, guys, this is kind of where I wanted to go anyway after the voicemails. It's kind of looking ahead. Missouri fell at Ken Pom from 13th all the way to 14th. This isn't a bad loss. Yes, you're better than Arkansas. Yes, you would like to win. But when you play Arkansas on the road, I think Missouri was favored by 1.5. This was basically a coin toss game. And they went on the road and lost it. I think this was, I've seen some things in the chat saying, hey, do you think this kind of humbles them? I don't think this was Missouri going in overconfident or feeling itself too much. They haven't shown any of that this year. I don't think that was that. They had a bad night and they got beat. I think this was a little bit of a good reminder for fans that, like, hey, this is college basketball. Like, I texted Drew at about 4:00 this afternoon. I was watching a little bit of Andy Ole Miss, and I said, if Missouri fans think they're just walking into Nashville and that's an easy win, like, yo, no, that's not how that works out. I mean, every game in this league is tough, and every road game is really tough. Like, this is college basketball. So like, I understand the hope and the excitement, especially after Alabama, of like looking forward, going, hey, and like I said, after the Alabama game, you've beaten Alabama, you've beaten Florida, you've beaten like, there is no team. Jay Billis said it on game day this morning. I'm not saying they're the best team in the country, but they can beat the best team in the country. Absolutely, they can. That has not changed. They can also lose to Texas and Arkansas. I mean, like, Missouri does not have a bad loss this year. The closest thing to it is a loss to Memphis on the road to start the season. That is a quad one loss. Memphis right now is 47th at Ken Palm. I don't know what they are in the net. I'll look it up real quick, but it's a quad one loss. Memphis in the net is scrolling 48. It's a quad one loss. It's going to remain a quad one loss. They are not going to, like, they're not falling out of the top 75. Texas on the road, quad one loss. Arkansas on the road, quad one loss. Auburn on the road shouldn't even count as a loss. Illinois, neutral site, quad one loss. Like, there are no bad losses here. There are just losses that, hey, they happen. What this showed you is that Missouri is capable on the wrong night of this is what I've said. We've been talking about how deep can this team go in the tournament, right? They can make a Final Four. They have the talent. They can also lose round one, definitely round two, but maybe round one. Now, the hope is that you put yourself in a position where you are seated, fourth, and I think that's still in play. I think third is still in play. Now, you have to run the table. If you're going to get a 3 seed, you've got to win the last 4 games of the regular season. And I'm not sure it's possible. I think you still need a little bit of help because Missouri fans have had blinders on a little bit as far as the seeding. Say, well, we're fourth in the SEC. We're ahead of this team in the SEC standings, but they played games before the SEC, guys. And like, when every single bracketology that comes out has you as a 4 or a 5, then that's what you are. It's not. I mean, the bias isn't all the bracketologists that are putting Missouri as a 4. The bias is yours saying they should be a 3 because they're whatever 8-4, 9-4, whatever they were in the SEC. They can still absolutely get to a 4. They can maybe still get to a 3. I think that's the ceiling. They were going to have to win out to have much chance at a 2. And I don't even think a 2 was probably on the table. But 3 is possible. 4 or 5 is doable. You drop 2 more, you're probably down to a 6, maybe even a 7, but probably a 6. And that, but I think that's okay. It's going to be somewhere in that 3 to 6 range. 6 probably slightly more likely than 3, 4, and 5 probably the most likely, I think. SEC, they're tied with Tennessee and Texas A&M at 9 and 5. Now, they would lose tiebreakers to both, so they would be the 6th seed in the SEC tournament. And that was kind of the problem with Tennessee beating Texas A&M today. Like, the initial reaction was, oh, great, we caught A&M, but it also brought Tennessee into the picture. And you lose tiebreakers to both of those teams. And you win tiebreakers against Florida and Alabama, but you're now 2 games back in it. So, like, now the top 4 got tougher today because of that Tennessee win. You got some ground to make up, and you've got to end up being tied with the right teams. But I don't think that's a huge deal. If it started today, there you go. Billy's got the bracket up. Missouri would be the 6th seed. They would face the winner of Arkansas, Oklahoma in their first game. And I don't think the SEC tournament really matters all that much, guys. Like, it's not going to change your seed. You were playing for the tournament that starts the week after that. I still feel pretty good that Missouri will be in that 4 or 5 range. Three's possible. Unlikely, I think, but possible. So, tonight maybe knocked you a rung down from what you thought that ceiling was. And it's just a reminder that, hey, the very best case scenario doesn't usually happen, right? But they put themselves in a really good spot. Like they're not going to play on Wednesday in the SEC tournament. Might play on Thursday. We'll see. But they're in the NCAA tournament. We know that. They're a top half of the team in the best conference in college basketball. And they just had a bad night. It's kind of the way it goes. If you guys have anything I really need to address before we get out, I will do so. As usual, after losses, it's a little bit smaller of a crowd. So understand. People not really here to celebrate, just here to commiserate for a little bit, but appreciate all of you who did hang out with us for last hour or so. Appreciate Drew King joining us from Bud Walton Arena. He's going to have plenty more up on the site tonight and tomorrow morning from this one. We'll be back live with you Monday night, and then Mizzou plays South Carolina Tuesday. Not planning any sort of a post-game show at midnight with a fire at Mizzou Arena for this one, because beating South Carolina is not going to have the same fanfare that beating Alabama had. But hey, bummer of a night in a season that hadn't had very many of them, guys. 20-7, going to South Carolina on Tuesday night. Ought to get back on the winning track and see where things go from there. So appreciate everybody that was here joining us. While you're here, before you leave, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're putting up a lot more videos. You'll get alerts when we go live, all of those things. So make sure to do that. If you're listening on the podcast, share it on social media, say good things. And one more reminder to get in touch with our friends at the Bruning Law Firm. They are located in the state of Missouri, but can help you if you're in Missouri, Illinois, or Kansas. If you've been wronged, if you've been injured, they want to help you get back on your feet and back to your life quickly. Free consultation by calling 573-400-2796. Once again, 573-400-2796. Get in touch with them. Tell them that I sent you. Tell them that Power Mizzou sent you. Guys, I'm off to Meemaw's house to have a bowl of chicken noodle soup. Appreciate you hanging out. Talk to you next time.